When they called, I said, I don't understand why you're doing this, and they said, one of the things they said was, well, it doesn't matter. We've done it now, and we want you. And so that was a tough one. That's where you had the hesitation.
Vincent, Goodwill, Yahoo Sports, good word with Goodwill. It is good to see you, man. Like, Mike, and you may, I know you feel me on this. Like, once upon a time, Vinny, like, everybody loved Doc Rivers. Everybody loved Glenn Doc Rivers, right? He was our president before Barack Obama was our president. Maybe not. I don't know. But the point is, like, everybody just loved Doc. Doc is polarizing, man. Like, people come for Doc's head now. And some people rush to his defense. Like, Doc Rivers epitomizes the phrase "can't win for losing" to me at this point in his career. What is your read on this entire situation? And in all seriousness, Vinny, like, I can't think of a bigger story than whether Doc is able to get the most out of this Bucks roster over the remainder of the regular season and into the playoffs. I can't think of a bigger NBA storyline as we turn the page. We'll come back to the All-Star game and All-Star weekend in a second, which you were there. But as we look ahead to the remainder of the regular season and the playoffs, I can't think of a bigger storyline, one that has more tension around it than Doc Rivers replacing Adrian Griffin, stumbling out of the gate, and now everybody and their mama has an opinion about not just Doc in Milwaukee, but Doc's body of work, or who he is, his character even. I know there's a lot, but take that wherever you want to go, Vinny.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild, Michael. First off, but just talk about the Bucks, right? Normally when you think about interim coaches coming in, they've usually been in that seat next to the head coach when the head coach got fired. So there's a level of familiarity that you have with the coaching staff and with the team and with the players and how things go. Doc came in from the outside, kind of, sort of, right? Because Adrian Griffin had mentors and people that he talked to throughout his rookie season. And I believe that Doc was one of those guys that the Bucks brought in to sort of mentor him. So there was a level of proximity. Do I think that Doc Rivers, when he's talking about, hey, I didn't want to take the job and all this, I think he's trying to do right by Griffin, not make it seem like he stabbed the guy in the back. I think it's he's protesting too much. He's trying to make it. Yeah. I think he's trying to make it look, not trying to make it look good, but he doesn't want to make it seem like he came for this guy's job. And whether it did or didn't happen, I think it would be in bad form if he acted like it was something that he wanted all along. Like you said, can't win for losing. There is no proper way to answer this question. Now to the basketball on the floor. And this is where Doc Rivers' history of being the 3-1 coach comes in to help and hurt him. Here's how it hurts him. It hurts him in a mental way. When you have a 3-1 lead, all of a sudden, Doc's voice just becomes like mine, gets real ashy, right? All of a sudden, that's what happens. The team gets real ashy, and it's like, okay, you're going to blow this lead because you've had the history of those things. And in a lot of those situations, Doc's team was never the favorite. You know, like, I'm not going to hold the Orlando Magic losing to the 1-seeded Detroit Pistons with Tracy McGrady and, you know, a bunch of nobodies against the number 1-seeded Pistons team. And there was and you look at some of the other 3-1 leads, Chris Paul has never been known as a quote unquote champion. Joel Embiid and James Harden have had their playoff struggles. Like, those things have happened independent of Doc Rivers and what he's done throughout his career.
He just so happens to be the common denominator.
Yeah, it's put it like this. Here's the back end of that, though, right? Like, I have a story. Like, I have a friend of mine who I went to high school, and he was like a close friend through college. And he was always around some mess. It was always something. It was always a story. It was like, man, it wasn't me. I just happened to be around it. And I'm like, bro, you can't be in the wrong place at the wrong time every damn time. So when I bailed him out of jail, I was like, this is it, dog. You know what I mean? Like, that sort of thing. Like one time can be a coincidence. You know, the micro creates the macro. And the micro always has a reason, but the macro always tells a story. And I think that's the thing with Doc Rivers. The positive, and I know I'm going long, the positive
good,
here
man.
is with Giannis and Dame, those are two superstars you don't have to beg to play. Those are two superstars you don't have to tell them on a night-to-night basis. You have to be excellent. And I think that can bode well in a playoff situation. Hopefully those guys are healthy. One thing with the Clippers, you didn't know if Blake was going to be healthy. You didn't know if Chris Paul was going to be healthy. And even with the Paul George, Kawhi Leonard Clippers, that 3-1 lead, A, you lost to Nikola Jokic. B, it was in the bubble when them dudes did not want to be there. I don't know how much I hold that against them. But in the Eastern Conference where everything seems topsy-turvy, that team has the highest ceiling out of everybody, and that's including the Boston Celtics.
Right.
It's funny, Vinny, before you came on, I said to Michael, when we were talking about Steve Wilkes, I said, be careful about the opportunities that you take. If you have a choice. Now, sometimes you ain't got a choice. Hey, I need a job. This job's available. This is what I got, and I'm just going to take it. But it's funny that Mike says he's polarizing. He is. Doc's polarizing. And you think about it, he's polarizing from all. Here's another common denominator. Every job he takes, he is expected to turn something around. And he usually does, but then it reaches a point where he can't do it, and it's held against him. Orlando, he was coach of the year. That team had no low expectations. As you said, they take on the Pistons and they lose. They should have. They had no business being there. Boston was a mess. He turned Boston around, KG and Ray and Paul. So it gets them to a championship. The Clippers were the Clippers were a joke. He took Donald Sterling's money. This was no Steve Ballmer. He took Donald Sterling's Clippers and turned them around. He goes to Philadelphia. He gets them against Joel Embiid an MVP, but, I mean, they pretty much the same. He didn't get them to the conference finals, but he inherited a mess. And then finally, where he is now, in the middle of the season, you got Dame and you got Giannis, but it's do something for us, Doc. And when he doesn't do it, when he doesn't get them to a championship, I guess that's it. When he doesn't deliver a championship, people are like, what the hell's up with that dude? It's funny how it works. Yeah, I mean, can you make any sense of it?
Well, can I interject before you?
I want to go to Mike, because Mike has got the face. He's got the face of all faces right now.
I'm processing, but both of you intelligent brothers have just broken down for me. I think we'd all agree that while we may be able to look back and qualify or explain away some of these postseason shortcomings, Doc's own shortcomings, Doc's own schematic shortcomings have been part of the problem. So
Sure.
If I'm
Definitely.
okay, so if I'm hearing both of
Not
you though.
flawless. Not
Okay,
flawless.
great. So if I'm hearing both of you though, maybe is it possible to be overrated and underappreciated at the same time?
Is it? No, it's
Vinny?
funny you were saying that because in my head, in my head, I was going to say he's neither overrated nor underrated. Like it's neither extreme. Like the people who go in on him for all the 3-1 stuff, that's a bit unfair. Now the people who say, he's a top 5 coach of all time or whatever the case may be, or he's going to turn everything around, that's overstating it a bit too. I do think that Doc's thought is, we have a good plan. Execute the plan better, and we will be fine. If you're Dean Smith, that sounds really great. If you're Doc Rivers and you're blowing leads, it sounds like you're not adjusting. You know what I mean? Like, what's plan B? Do plan A better. It's such a weird thing. And yeah, when you got JJ Redick and Austin Rivers, I will tell you this fun thing as an aside, as three black male journalists here in this business, wasn't the advantage of athletes being on air was that they had the experience of being in the trenches and they didn't have the personal vandellas that us journalists purportedly had, as opposed to us journalists having a sober mind and sober takes and all this. And now you see mudslinging from 1 hour to the next from former players and sons. Things that make you go,
That's a whole other conversation. I will just echo that,
it's a good one.
Vinny, by saying these athletes fire off way more hot takes than we ever did in the history of this here industry. They're way more reckless, unresearched, and uninformed than we ever were. There's a lot of them that's just out here just like going. You're absolutely right with that.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.